And so we have lead values and getting close to the sales team or CRO or whoever it might be who's leading that and can validate that this data is clean all the way through, getting to that number and understanding that and customer lifetime value and all those things. So that's the holy grail. That's where we want to be, because then we can, at whatever regular checkpoints, annual or more often, reevaluate that and have a pulse of, are we getting enough leads? Are we getting high enough quality leads? Are they targeted properly? And start the conversation and keep the conversation there on an ongoing healthy basis, and not have to keep going and reevaluating the ultimate business goal and have challenges with that. So if we can anchor to that at least on an annual basis and understand, have the business's goals changed? Are the marketing goals in alignment with that? And that doesn't, again, sound like an SEO's job, but it's become more of important to validate that some of these points are in place. So for us, the deepest goals we get to typically, and that we love reporting on, are those agreed upon KPIs related to deals that come through or leads that come through and validate, and our ability to connect into CRM or whatever levels of data we can. And we have e-commerce clients too, and that's different and feels easier
Yeah.
because we get the data in real time coming back to us, but also we have to understand margins. And if you're drop shipping versus where your warehouses are and what tariffs did to you or anything else, that you can't just turn off that part of the brain either and say, well, it's a 4-to-1 or 12-to-1 ROAS, or if you're looking at from an organic perspective, how you're validating that return on spend of what you're investing in SEO efforts. So whatever that is, not just trusting it for a year or two or three and saying, okay, well, we got you 50,000 leads in the last 5 years. Why is that not profitable? Or why is the company shutting down or selling off or whatever? And so that's the KPI layer. It's not much different than what it's been in the past, but there's extra scrutiny on it and making sure we understand it, and not just trusting the other side of this too, not just trusting GA4 out of the box, right? Of course, what doesn't get talked about is that GA4 emerged a few years ago and still frustrates many, if not all of us, because we have assumptions that things just work and get measured properly like they did previously. We wrote a great article, my VP of strategy did last year, that's got 15 screenshots and walking you through the 10-minute setup to go set up the attribution you need to see LLM traffic and categorize it properly. And we've got another one coming in the next few weeks based on a client problem we were solving yesterday that's solvable, but not an out-of-the-box feature. And so the constantly revisiting and rechecking and validating has become, unfortunately, a new time commitment to make sure the KPIs don't get taken for granted.
Yeah, I think GA4 is something that was kind of like when AdWords switched over to the new system. Like there's actually some really good components to it, but they move stuff around and you've got to do it a different way and you got to hook certain stuff up. You know, so I do think it's more powerful or useful, and a lot of stuff that might not be as useful, they're kind of going, this is not as useful. Like you don't need to focus on this, but people are focused on older KPIs. I would love to hear kind of as we close out, what are the tools that you're using and are the tools effective? Because, okay, like in the last 4 months, everybody added their bolt-on AI visibility tool, right? And I mean, even the traditional tools, like I'm going like, okay, are y'all even, I'm like going to my team, I'm like, are y'all even looking at keyword tracking? Like, is it accurate? Like, you know, and everybody's going back to manual searches. That's a lot of what, but then manual searches are personalized if you're looking in the AIs to yourself. And so then it's like, okay, have the client look at it. There's so many different like layers or kind of like different angles to look at this. And then like these tools are also giving you one data point and you're like, okay, well, maybe that's pulling from over here or over there, but I can't replicate it or the client can't replicate it, right? It's like, oh, you're ranking number 1 and then nobody on your team can replicate, the client can't replicate. You're like, where is this number coming from? And like, is that even data valid? And then I was on a bigger panel discussion with a bunch of teams, and the IT team was there, and they're like, isn't all this data theoretical? And I was like, yeah, a lot of it is. And they're like, so how do we know if it's true? And I was like, we don't. And that's why we're using multiple tools to kind of create like a GPS coordinate to kind of validate it from different angles. And I said, these are the gold standard. This is what's out there. I was like, so what we ended up doing is a guy on my team and his brother-in-law, they're like coders and stuff. They built a tool called Carrot, and we're just launching that. And it's literally like all the input, and we're going to be using this tool customized mainly for our clients, but like it's going to be out there, but there are tons of tools. It's just like really customized to what we need. And it's been wild. It's been just wild about what's out there. And I'm like, we paid for this tool, we're paying for this tool. And then I'm like, they're telling me different things. And then I'm like trying to talk to their dev team, and like, then they're like explaining it to me. And I'm like, it's almost going back to like you look at the revenue number, and you know what you need to do, and you know what things should be. And I mean, I've just find myself relying a little bit less on the tools as kind of a definitive answer, and more kind of on, like what I see happening at where I can see it in the data. But I don't feel like the tools have done a great job doing that. And now it's, I don't know. There's just a lot more noise out there is what I feel like, but that's my personal, and I would love to hear and if you don't agree with me, I would love to hear the disagreement, because I'm always learning and talking to other SEOs and trying to learn myself. So
No, I love what you said, and that example you gave of being challenged on theoretical aspect of it. It's always been theoretical. We might have felt more comfortable with being able to see things in what I've called a linear way before, but there's always first click, last click, view went through, windows, Facebook taking credit for everything, right? And like all of that has always had problems of flaws, and every tool, when we were still focused on keywords way back when, would give you wild different ranges of estimated volume. And
yes.
Google was always pulling back data and trying to make it, go through all their privacy things and keywords not provided, moving it to Search Console and changing how they sample data versus give you literal data, your own data, and look at, and then filtering out spam and bot traffic. So all of that has always been somewhat theoretical. We just got better at packaging it and trusting it, and it did get better. But it definitely, I agree with you. We have, we use some of the leading tools like Ahrefs and Screen Frog and things in our stack, but we went away from the enterprise level dashboard and report, third party dashboard and reporting tool of